Hey everyone. This is a pared down VOD from my stream the other day where I put together a tier list. I want to preface this video by clarifying what criteria I'm using to make this list. This is a tier list, unordered within tiers, that ranks relative utility in the meta. In other words, this is not a ranking of which characters are best if you were to solo main them. I go into this in more detail throughout the video, but wanted to introduce that concept right at the beginning. If you want to skip around, check the description for timestamps and a link to the final tier list. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy the video. So basically, you're looking at, in a tier list, you're looking at which characters are the best. But how the best is described or judged is not consistent across different tier lists. So I think if you're making a tier list, you need to have a clear description of what you're actually judging and what you're ordering. Now, another component to this, for me personally, is I feel like many matchups are not as clear cut as many people make them out to be. I think many matchups are close enough to even that any further discussion does not matter. Like, the difference between a 6-4 and a 55-45, like, I think a lot of the matchups people call 6-4 are close enough to even that it doesn't actually make that much difference. So, I mean, those are the two big things that generally frustrate me about tier lists. So I'm going to try and be clear about those as we go over them. Yeah, we consider results only Roy's mid tier. Yeah, so I think right off the bat, we can write off results as the sole criteria. There is certainly disproportionate representation based on results. I think that much is basically true. So the thing is with tier lists like this, the criteria, like I could sit here and make 10 different tier lists. That's the thing. Is I could give you 10 different pieces of criteria that would all be useful. That's another thing, is like, what's the actual use of a tier list? I could give you several different pieces of criteria that are useful and come up with several different lists. So for example, we might have one tier list that is, this is the solo main tier list. This is the list of characters in order of how good they are as solo mains. And then what I personally think is a more valuable tier list, and what I think I'm leaning towards making today, is a utility tier list. So what is a character's utility in the meta? And we'll get a little bit more into that later. So, and like I mentioned, I feel like a lot of things are pretty close within a range. So I'm actually not going to order any of my tiers. I don't care who's better between Fox and Falco and Mark. I think they're all close enough to the top. Okay, are you guys ready to get started? Can anyone guess who's in S tier? Okay, Fox, Falco, Marth. Those, I think, are the three clear best in the game. And this is unordered. All right, A tier. I do think Puff is in A tier. And I think Sheik is in A tier. I think Falcon is in A tier. So, I mean, we can talk about this a little bit. So, like I said, I think the matchups between basically all these characters are close enough to even that I don't think there's any significant swings here. Like, I don't think it makes a huge difference based on which character you pick for top level players of similar skill level and similar, matchup knowledge and I'm thinking like into a slightly forward theoretical future. Like, you know, the way Mango plays Falco is how I'm envisioning like my justification for Falco on the tier list. Like Mango plays Falco in a very different way than basically every other Falco. And if you watch Mango versus Zane, you can see like this matchup, it's not just like a 7-3 Marth Falco match. Ammo. Yeah, Leffen is picking up Sheik. So, Sheik it can be challenging sometimes to fight Spaceys, especially on, FD per se. But the potential punish game for Sheik on Spaceys, the edge guards, Sheik has, one of the best defenses in the game. He's a very strong character. I just think the Marth, Falco, Fox peaks are a bit higher than Sheik. But like I said, these two tiers are extremely close to each other. Now Puff, same deal. Like Puff's very scary. Is close enough to even with all these characters. Many would argue that she has a slight edge over Sheik and Falcon. Though I think it's, again, in the vast majority of cases, it's close enough. But I think a slight edge over Sheik and Falcon and a slight deficit to the top three keeps her comfortably in this A tier. And then Falcon, I actually think is like pretty close to even with all these. Maybe slight deficits to Fox and Falco, but arguably the best matchup against Marth. I think goes a long way. I think the Falcon metagame is cleaning up quite nicely. Plus, we see 3 really distinct styles from S2J, Wizzy, and None. He's a very flexible character. All right, any questions about S and A tier so far? Again, these are unordered within tiers, and we are judging utility. I think the way HBox plays Puff isn't enough to put her in S. No, I don't. I think HBox is a really good player. For many years, his style was working very well. But I think a lot of the counterplay to HBox was not developed or properly executed consistently. So no, I don't think Puff is S tier. What is the best dual main combo? Fox and Falco, Fox and Marth, Falco Marth, Fox Puff. I don't know any of these 2 characters. Like I said, all these characters are close enough to even. I don't think you're going to be hurting yourself by maining any combination of the 2 of them. I mean, I would say, pick your favorite and then pick a second to compensate. So one thing I want to talk about is player skills, not as in player skill level, as in who's good versus who is bad, but rather player stats is a better way to put it. So there are many strengths and weaknesses that every player has. Rather than look, if you're maining any of these 6 characters, rather than look at what your character's good and bad matchups are, because I don't think that's going to make much of a difference for any of these characters. Look at what your player weaknesses are and think about what other characters might be able to help compensate in certain matchups where those weaknesses show themselves, is basically what I'm saying. So for example, one of my personal issues is, in the past at least, when I'm playing as Marth against, let's say it can't be Fox. I'm typically like a pretty aggressive, or maybe reckless, you could say, player. And I just had a very poor developed game plan as Marth against that style of Fox. So for a while I was practicing my Falco against that style of Fox, and it felt more natural to use Falco's tools to fight against that style of Fox. Because I'm like, okay, I have some drift mix-ups, I have my lasers, and I have, this punish game. It's more forgiving for me to scrap against Fox if I do decide I want to go in. I have a couple more stray hits that are going to get me good openings. Whereas with Marth, if I make that decision in game, because that's part of my instincts, I'm just going to lose that mix up because I'm going to get shined. You know, I don't really have a good scrap option when I get that close. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. So, you know, I'll also say that I did end up working on that aspect of my Marth play, and I'm a lot better at it now. And in the long run, that is the better thing to do, but, you know, it depends on what kind of player you are. Another good example of this is Falco with Mango. Like, I think Mango plays Falco super, super well. Like, he's the epitome of what Falco should look like. However, I think the way he plays Falco, I think you have to do a pretty big style shift to fight against Puff. And I don't think he's as comfortable with that style shift, even though he's good at everything else you need to be good at with Falco. And the way he's playing with Falco, if you play that same way with Fox instead, the path from game starts to... Oh, I see a Fox outside. No lie. As I'm talking about Fox. We have a couple of Foxes. It's not that uncommon, but as I said, Fox. I saw Fox. But if you take his style, the path from game start to getting a kill on Puff is much more straightforward with Fox. So it makes sense for him to play Fox against Puff. Even though Falco can do it. I mean, Ginger beat H-Box a month ago. Bobby Big Boss has also beaten H-Box. It's definitely possible. You talk to PP about Falco Puff. Even H-Box himself will tell you, oh my god, the Fox is walking towards me. It's 20 feet away from me. It's literally 20 feet away. Oh, let me get a picture. Man, I was on such a roll. I got distracted by the Fox, and then chat. Should we move on? You guys have any other questions about the top 6 unordered in tiers? Did I convince you of that hologram that the top 6 is extremely close? Because that's what I'm trying to point out here. I was trying to give you an example of how players like stat disparity was a greater contributor to character choice than matchups. See what I'm saying? So I think the biggest question now is about Peach. So I think Peach is in her own tier right here. I think Peach has a high utility. I think she's close behind these top 6, but I think she is behind these top 6. And that's because I think, at best, she has a slight deficit to most of these characters. You know, and you guys disagree with me? How good is your brother at playing Peach? That's my trump card. I was born fighting this character. So the thing with Peach, it's so hard to solo main Peach. So this is again where I'm talking about utility. The utility of any of the top 6 is strong enough that you can solo main them. It is quite difficult to solo main Peach at the top level. Now, this is where you could break it down by matchup, where it's like, okay, do I think Peach can fight Puff and win? Yeah, I think she can. I think it's like close enough that most of the time it doesn't matter. But I think it's so hard for Peach. Like, she has to work so hard, is what I mean. Even if you want to argue that it's like minus 0.5 for Peach in Puff's favor, what you cannot argue is that Peach has to work much harder. So long as Puff has a solid game plan. What I will also say is that most Puffs don't have a good game plan against Peach. Most of them just don't, which is why if you look at the last couple of years of data, most of the time the Peaches are beating the Puffs. On LAN, Laud beat Michael like 4 times this year. He lost on net play, but, you know, beating Michael on net play is another story. I think Polish, too, had beaten Michael. Now, Peach Chic, I think you could probably argue it's close enough. It doesn't matter. Peach Falcon, same deal. I think Peach does have a lot of new stuff that has made neutral much more manageable for her. If you guys don't know, Laud actually does have a lifetime set advantage over S2J. I think he's 4-3 on S2J. I think they alternated winning, but Laud won the first and last time they played. But Laud does have a set advantage over S2J. Nico beat Wizzy at Genesis this year, right? But Peach has to work a lot harder. And I think sometimes Falcons don't have the best game plan against Peach. So look at Sechi is a good example of a Falcon who does have a good game plan against Peach and like a really clean punish game. Peach versus Marth. Peach, again, she can make it really difficult, but I think at best it's a slight deficit for Peach. And then for Spaceys, I'd probably argue the same. And believe me, I'm a Peach believer. I'm definitely a Peach believer. You know, I'm not a Peach hater by any means. Like I said, you guys are just tuning in. I think the top 6 are close enough to even. And I think Peach is like just a half step behind them. But I think she's in her own tier. So I think B tier is just Peach. So this is the top 7. Pretty cleanly, I think. And we'll keep revisiting these characters as we go on. As we get lower in the tier list, we're going to have to discuss how every character does against the top 7. Okay. First character we're going to put in this tier. Again, unordered in tiers. Yoshi. Yoshi is an interesting one because I feel like a lot of people argue that he's, you know, the quintessential untapped potential character. And I agree that there's quite a bit of untapped potential still on Yoshi. But I don't think that it's enough to be over Peach. I think that's something some people have argued. Like, I don't think I would argue that Yoshi has a better matchup over Fox, Falco, and Marth. Like, maybe it's, I don't know. Because I think Marth just beats Yoshi. Like, straight up. And that's what a lot of people kind of rely on. I think Yoshi does have a better matchup against Puff. But if you lose the lead with either Peach or Yoshi, like, Puff just wins, you know? So yeah, I think Yoshi's potential punish game against Spaceys is good. I think Yoshi's got a lot of, you know, good tools in neutral with shield drops and parries and, you know, all the funny drift stuff with his double jump cancels. But I don't think any of it is just like better than what Peach has. I think Peach turnips are extremely, extremely powerful, especially when used by a really good player. And I think they're better than eggs. And I think Peach also has that punish game on Spaceys. No. And like I said, for a long time, people have talked about Yoshi beating Marth. But I think Marth just straight up beats Yoshi. Now, next character, Pikachu. Again, this is unordered in this tier. So every character I add to this tier is within the same range. Not saying Yoshi's better than Pikachu or vice versa. Now, Pikachu, I like changed my mind a lot. Because I've been saying Marth beats both Pikachu and Yoshi, but I've been talking and let me clarify, or let me get ahead of this. I still think that, but I've been talking a lot about Marth Pikachu this week, especially with Zane, and just in general, people have been talking about it. And I have played X. I played Tyler Swift in tournament this weekend. I've been playing against Noricus in friendlies this week. Just thinking about that matchup and why it's different from Martha Yoshi. So there's like a concept in Melee where if you can win neutral every single time, then you should just win the matchup, no matter how the rest of the game goes, right? So you have neutral. Let me take CLG's 4 elements of Melee real quick. Neutral, neutral, punish, defense, and edge guarding. If you win neutral and you lose all the other 3, in theory, you can still win the matchup, right? So Marth definitely wins neutral against Yoshi. You know how to play it. I think you can have a pretty simple game plan against Yoshi and beat him in neutral. Now, Marth's punish game on Yoshi sucks, and Yoshi's punish game on Marth is okay, but that doesn't matter if you never get opened up. Marth's defense against Yoshi doesn't matter if you never get opened up. And getting edge guarded by Yoshi never matters if you never get opened up. Other way around, Marth's punish is okay on Yoshi. Yoshi's defense on Marth is pretty good, and Marth's edge guards on Yoshi are mediocre. But neutral is enough to win. Now, against Marth Pikachu, I think Pikachu's neutral is slightly better, but I think Marth definitely wins neutral against Pikachu, because Pikachu's neutral against Marth is basically Fox's, but worse. You don't have Shine, you don't have Drill, you only have Nair, and you have down tilt and F tilt as a poke. Really just down tilt. So you have down tilt, and you have Thunder Jolt and Nair, and that's your neutral against Marth, really, as Pikachu. So Marth can win neutral over and over again. However, Pikachu's punish game on Marth is the lottery. So if you give Pikachu enough lottery tickets, eventually he's going to get a jackpot. And sometimes he doesn't even need to win the jackpot. Sometimes he just needs to get a lucky mix-up or catch you off guard and kill you at 30. Because Pikachu can actually edge guard Marth. So it's not the same as Marth Yoshi because of this lottery issue. And like, you can keep Yoshi in disadvantage on the edge guard, even though Marth doesn't have like a really solid edge guard option. I'm talking about practical, like this is all practical stuff that I've experienced. Against Yoshi, you can keep him in disadvantage when you're edge guarding him. Even though you don't have a consistent kill option, you can keep him in disadvantage and eventually get the kill. Pikachu, you are not guaranteed to keep Pikachu in disadvantage when you put him off stage. And that's what Zane and I have literally been talking about every day, is like literally talking about how if we can find a way to consistently edgeguard Pikachu, or at least come up with a solid mix-up, that's big money in this matchup. That's where all the juice is, because if you can kill Pikachu 1 every 3 times instead of 1 every 6 times, that's, you know, that many fewer opportunities for Pikachu to land the lottery combo. And if you fail the edge guard, Pikachu goes back to center with up B, especially if your edge guard involves taking ledge, which we're finding, you know, could very well be the case. All that to say, Pikachu does have some utility against Marth. Pikachu's also got some utility against Falcon. You know, everything I just described against Marth still applies for Pikachu. So even if Pikachu, you know, loses neutral against any of these characters, Pikachu can gimp or punish heavily Marth, Falcon, Falco, Fox, maybe Sheik. Even if Pikachu loses neutral in all those matchups, and you know, yeah, if Pikachu loses neutral in all those matchups and gets punished heavily, you know, Marth has pretty good punish on Pikachu. Fox kills Pikachu pretty easily. None of them have super duper consistent edge guards on Pikachu. And if Pikachu gets back to stage, you know, he's at a disadvantage and he gets another chance to win the lottery. He still loses all these matchups. He still loses basically all these matchups. But like I said, we're talking about utility. It's not black and white. It's Ices without wobbling. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love wobbling when I'm the one doing it. As a competitive mechanic, it sucks. I think it sucks that so many Ice Climbers players dropped ICs when wobbling was banned. Yes, it's a strict nerf. It's just a blatant nerf. It sucks. I get it. But, you know, I was hoping to see some more ICs meta pushing. Really, we only have Slug right now. There's not really any of these players. But let's talk about ICs, okay? Desyncs, long wave dash, disjoint, really strong moves, still has kill confirms off grab, still has guaranteed edge guards off grab, still has mix-ups that are dangerous off grab. Bananas is really good without wobbling. He was winning locals in Texas where they're all really good against ICs. I think it's a shame. I mean, like, again, I get it if you spent so much time practicing wobbling, but like you can still use everything you learned around wobbling. It's not like you've spent hours a day practicing the technique of wobbling. You can just practice learning all the other IC's interesting setups and stuff, you know. So I would really love to see more people pick up ICs and push this character. Again, I get it. I understand if you want to play a better character. There are many, you know, the top 6 are really good. Peach is good. But I do think ICs bring something to the table that no other character really... Yeah, frozen pizza is good. I don't know, I'm just thinking, you know, like... I don't know any of the advanced IC stuff, so now when I play ICs, all I do is I go for like the Blizzard off grab into Smash or Blizzard into down throw down air regrab. So a long time ago when I was when Nintendo was still living in Maryland and we would play, you know, for Marth you hold up to get out of the down throw down air regrab, right? A lot of characters can just hold up and mash jump so that they don't get regrabbed. If you're spacey, you have to SDI down and away. You can't jump out of it. But other characters like Marth can jump out of it. So what Nintendo did is he let me jump out of it and then back aired me with Nana. And if I was at 70%, I'm off stage, back aired at 70% with no jump. Like, that's a pretty strong mix up. Right? Now think, you know, now I'm afraid as Marth to jump out of down throw down air. Yeah, sorry, it's just dude now. So now you have your opponent afraid to jump out of down throw down air. Now you can do other stuff. You can do forward air. Maybe you'll even get the grab. You can mix up the down air timing too. I mean, for Marth, you can just hold up, so that's fine. But against spaces, you can mix up the down air timing. What I'm trying to say basically is that, you know, there's still a lot of stuff ICs can do. Grab is still really powerful. Near the edge, handoffs are basically guaranteed death. You can get forward air. It's a meteor, yeah, sure, but it still sets up for an offstage thing, you know? Anyways, I don't see any of you guys arguing. I think we're all on the same page. The ICs are good. They have a lot of utility. You know, if you want to talk about matchups, they lose to Peach. They probably, I mean, yeah, they lose to Puff, especially if they lose the lead. Probably evenish with Sheik. You know, a little worse against Falcon, bodied by Marth, and they lose to the Spaceys. Same as everyone else in this tier. They lose to everyone above them. But, you know, we talked about how Peach loses some matchups, but has to work harder at them. Maybe that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm trying to say is Sheik might be even with Ices, but Sheik has to work way, way harder to make it even. That's some utility. And again, these are unordered within tiers. I'm saying Fox, Falco, and Marth is not in that order. This is not with wobbling. Wobbleless. But honestly, I'd probably still put them here with wobbling. Maybe they would just be, I don't know, maybe they'd be in Peach tier. I don't know. I don't really care. Wobbling's banned. I'm not ordering the tiers. I already have talked about how much I hate tiers. I can't believe you guys are making me do this against my will. What would it take for me to order the tiers? You're asking me what it would take for me to go against my principles. And the answer is $500. That's how much it takes to buy my morality. I don't have a strong enough opinion or an opinion about ordering Fox, Falco, and Marth. Like I said, I think they're all close enough. Was 500 too cheap? How about 500 per tier? Is that a better price? Is that more fair since you guys are market checking me? It's good. Okay. Or should I do a scale based on tier? Start at 1,000 and then like 900, 800, 700. There's one more character in this tier. Who do you guys think it is? All right, the majority has it. It's Samus. Definitely Samus. Don't even question me on this. It's definitely Samus. Samus is definitely in this tier. She's got such good normals, 2 down holding frame 6 moves. Down tilt, down smash. Invincible, out of shield, up B. 3 projectiles. Good, solid recovery mix-ups. I think you could argue that she beats Pikachu, Ices, maybe Yoshi. I actually can't play it out in my head well enough to say, but I think you could probably make a good argument that Samus beats Yoshi. And Samus like makes enough of the other characters play her game that she's just like a solid overall utility pick. Like you can be pretty happy as a Samus main, you know, have a nice house, solid job, get benefits. You don't have to do anything like morally questionable. And yeah, Angel, like you mentioned, there's still some unexplored shield pressure stuff with Bomb. There's some cool stuff there. No ambition in life. Well, Duck found ambition. That's why he plays Sheik now. Actually, fun fact, Duck was our backup player for Rishi's Jungle Jam. And he was going to play Samus. For the people, he said. For the people. But then he was like, Samus is so bad in this format, which she is. So I'm kind of glad that people didn't get to see his Samus in Rishi's Jungle Jam. She gets hella nerfed. But yeah, Samus is good. She's a good character. You know, a couple weaknesses, but her weaknesses are not as glaring as any of the other 3 in this tier. So on average, I think she's better than these 3. At her best, I think the other 3 have higher peaks, and at her worst, I think she's better than the other 3 at their worst. But I think it balances out to about this level of utility. I know I'm saying utility and it's kind of an ambiguous term, but I'm trying to continuously inundate you guys with examples so we can all be on the same page. So hopefully everyone's following. Now again, unordered within tiers. So why don't I start with the one that I'm most confident belongs in this tier? Yeah, you guys cool with that? I'm most confident that young Link belongs in this tier. Now we're going to take a brief intermission to watch the entirety of my YouTube video titled, Can Young Link Win a Major? Okay, so refresh. We're talking about utility, right? We're talking about what these characters can do. You have a utility belt. What do you want to have on your belt? Once you start getting into these lower tiers, and I would say we're at about mid-tier now. Once we're in this part, most of these characters have pretty glaring weaknesses. I would argue even Yoshi, Pikachu, Icy's, Samus, maybe not Samus, but Yoshi's, Pikachu, Icy's have pretty big weaknesses, but now we're getting into like serious weakness time. So what we're looking for is characters who have serious strengths, because that's their utility. You would want to pull them out at the time where their strengths are useful to you, right? So if you have like, you know, a really good all-purpose knife and you're out in the wilderness, that's your high tiers and your top tiers. You got a really good knife. Now these guys, like maybe they're your rope, you know, really valuable. You definitely need a knife, but a rope is going to be helpful for you too. Now, young Link might be like, I don't know, a compass, a hatchet maybe? He might be a hatchet. Milk? Yeah, maybe he's milk. He's just your flask of milk in the wilderness, keeping you alive. You could find other things, but he is giving you something you're not really getting anywhere else. Bottle, yeah, you know, he's something useful. So let's talk about why he's useful. He's useful because he actually makes life really difficult for a couple of these characters up here. He makes Puff's life pretty difficult. And I think that's true. I think, sure, maybe Puff still wins, but he makes her life really difficult. He makes Peach's life really difficult. You know, bombs, projectiles, confirms into kill off grab and off bombs. He's really hard to catch. Peach is pretty slow. Puff is pretty slow. It's hard for them to catch him. Young Link can even make Samus's life kind of difficult. Young Link can't. So the reason for that is Samus likes to live on the ground, right? She has missiles that kind of get in the air where she can be on a platform, but she can't do that much if Young Link's on the top platform. And she likes to crouch cancel. Bombs just beat crouch cancel. Like, she can shield, but he can just keep raining down bombs, you know? And her best out of shield option is up B. She's not going to grab Young Link out of shield. Ice climbers. You can just throw bombs at Nana. Again, they can't chase you on platforms. Pikachu. Pikachu, I think it's a little tricky for Pikachu to edgeguard Young Link. Pikachu can't punish Young Link very hard. Again, Pikachu out of shield, you know, maybe shield grab, but Fair is pretty safe on shield as Young Link. Now, where it gets difficult for Young Link, Sheik is pretty difficult for Young Link. I actually played, so I don't know if you guys know, I put a lot of time into my Young Link this year because I find him really fun. And I found that he was able to do stuff no other character could do. So I was actually playing Duck Sheik for a while. And he just kind of like figured out the matchup on most stages. Like, he would shield on platforms and use needles. And I was like, oh, I can't do anything. Like, I can't attack his shield on a platform. I get shield drop aerialed. I can't grab him. I guess I can throw bombs, but then he can just kind of reset, save up his shield, start again. But I was actually doing pretty well against him on FD. So we actually would play entire sessions just on FD because he would get pretty frustrated that we were going a little back and forth on FD instead of bodying me like he was on every other stage. The Young Link's punish on Sheik is actually pretty good. If you get a grab, up throw actually combos into stuff. So that's my spiel on Young Link. If anyone has trouble or disagrees, then money match my Young Link. All right. So, like I said with Young Link can do certain things that no other character can do. That emphasizes his utility. The same goes for DK. Off grab and in his ability to wall certain characters, he's better than any other character at those things. And like I said, these characters were getting into territory of having big weaknesses. But DK gets a grab on Pikachu or Ices or Marth or Sheik, at 80%, they just die. His back air walls out quite a few of these characters. Pikachu does not have great answers to back air. Ices don't have really great answers to DK's back air. Even his down B is really threatening because Nana's not going to CC it, so it always pops her up into the air. Nana does not mash out of DK's grab, so if you grab Nana, you have a guaranteed kill on her. Unless Popo reacts instantly. The other thing with Pikachu DK is Pikachu has to hit DK way more times than DK has to hit Pikachu. Punish game very weak on DK. DK has kill confirms on Peach. Kill confirms on everyone in C tier. Really, pretty consistent edge guarding on Falcon, on Spaceys. Even on Sheik. I don't know. I feel like you guys are offending me by making me defend DK's placement. I don't owe you guys anything. All right, so far I haven't seen any arguments to change my mind. So I got one more character in D tier. Here is where my mind could be changed over the next 4-ish character. And this couple tiers. I'm open to having my mind changed, but I have one more character in D tier. Okay, here it is. This is a hesitant placement. Mario fans in shambles. But Rishi, don't you know it's Mario's 35th anniversary? What would Nintendo say? You know what? Maybe I'll put the Marios in D tier, but on March 31st, 2021, they're getting shifted to E tier. It's what I call a tier list celebration. We celebrate their placements for the next few months. April 1st, they're out. I kind of see Ganon as the Samus of this tier. Yeah, Ganon is really slow, and his recovery is pretty bad. Agreed with those things. Like I said, all these characters now have some big weaknesses. Very slow, bad recovery, pretty bad ground movement. But I don't think his weaknesses are as big as DK's or Young Link's. I think they're still pretty bad. But when you're thinking about DK's neutral, he doesn't really have a good forward-facing option. So if you turn him around with a Falco Laser or something, that's a pretty big L for DK. Ganon's Fair is actually an amazing move. Fair is an amazing move. His upper is an amazing move. His upper actually has a pretty good hitbox for up and in front of him. His back air auto cancels, and there's a lot of drift mix-ups you can do with back air. You can do a fade in back air. You can double jump with it. You can do retreating back air. Especially on stages with platforms, you have back air auto cancel, double jump, waveland mix-ups. It can be really slippery. I'm sure you guys are familiar, Ganon on ice. There are some decent mix-ups off down throw. A lot of characters you have kill confirms off down throw. If you don't, you can set up tech chases with down throw jab. F tilt is actually a pretty solid move, especially when mixed into his zoning with his aerials. And that's pretty much it. That's what he has. Yeah, since his moves are so far and so strong, they're pretty safe on shield. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Ganon. So I don't think anything I said is pretty controversial. Seems like we're all on the same page here, but you guys are wondering about the Marios and Adult Link. Here's actually what I had in mind originally. I have a D.5 tier because I did not want an enormous D tier, and I think there is a bit of a difference here. But I think there is a separation, but I think it's very close. So in D.5 tier is where I have Link, Mario, Luigi, and Duck. Now, like I said, with these last 5 characters, I'm not 100% certain yet. And this is unordered in tiers, so remember that. I am tempted to put Link in this tier. I think Young Link does a good amount better against floaties than. As for Spaceys, I think it's comparable. I think one of the differences is that Link does better against Marth and maybe against Sheik. But I think in all of these matchups, I think Young Link does better. It's all the C tier matchups, which makes me want to keep Link in D.5. But I think Link's weaknesses are probably less bad than Young Link's, which would make him closer to Ganon. So I think the argument I made about Ganon, I think you could make the same argument for Link, put him in D2. All right, let's talk about the Marios. 35th anniversary of Mario Brothers, really exciting. Okay, do you guys remember when I talked about how the top 6 characters are like your really sick utility knife that just does everything you need? And how Peach is like your rope, these guys are something else, and now, I don't know, maybe you got like a hatchet, you got like a fire starter, right? Now, what are the Marios in this toolkit? In my opinion, the Marios are just like a crappy knife. Like, what do you need them for? Wait, what is their utility? What are they doing better than any other character? Like Link, Young Link, Ganon, DK all have, you know, they're bringing something to the table. So basically, I agree with you, Monty the Ward. They are well-rounded, but not exceptional in any area. Whereas Link and Ganon, I would say, are well-rounded, but have more use against high-tier characters. Young Link and DK, I would say, do have like exceptional aspects. Whereas Doc, Mario, and Luigi are very well-rounded, don't have that many glaring weaknesses. They do have some, but they're not shining at anything. You know, you could survive in the wilderness without them. I mean, we can talk like specifically what are they good at doing. So Mario, I mean, decent movement, decent hitboxes, decent combos, decent edge guards, like everything is kind of decent. But then you look at DK, like really good edge guards, really good combos, like meh neutral, you know? So if we're talking about utility, in my opinion, what DK brings to the table outweighs what Mario brings to the table. Mario might even beat DK, you know, but that's not what we're talking about. Now for Luigi, like I want to say that, I don't know, he does a lot of the same stuff that Ices do. but he's a little bit less restricted in where he can go. When he hits you, he's not doing as much. I think a lot of characters have pretty straightforward game plans they can use to beat Luigi. Having such a wide threat range is good with his wave dash, but then once he actually hits you, I don't know which characters he threatens that hard. You know, even on FD, he's not that threatening off a grab. As opposed to, like, at least Doc has some threatening combos off grab on FD. Then Doc can't go anywhere. I have seen Joyride, and Joyriden's maybe the only Luigi I've seen have solid punishes off grab. But even then, I don't know if they're all guaranteed. But again, he's the only one I've seen do it. I don't know, I could be wrong about that. Maybe you could argue that being decent at everything has higher utility than the rest, but I don't think so. When I say the rest, I mean like what? Young Link, okay. Yeah, Slug, this is with wobbling band. I'm actually curious what your thoughts are, Slug, about ICs, since at the moment you seem to be the foremost expert on non-wobbling ICs. Okay, cool. Glad to hear it. And this is unordered within tiers, just for the record. I'm putting ICs in the same range as Yoshi, Pikachu, and Samus. I think it's pretty uncontroversial. I think at most people would say like, oh, ICs suck without wobbling. Like, I've heard that, but I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people just lost interest in the character. But I think Mario has fewer weak spots than Luigi. And his punish on certain characters is better. Plus the threat of F smash is really big. F smash and down smash from Mario. Yeah, Doc could be better than both of them, but not by enough to put him in the tier above. Unless someone really convinced me that he just like truly bodies some of the top characters on like FD or something, which I'm not convinced by. Yeah, Luigi's recovery is probably better than Doc's, but I don't know about Mario's. I think Mario's recovery is pretty decent, especially with fireballs on the way down. He can make it tricky, kind of like how Pikachu can. All right, I think we're ready to move on. I think you guys are satisfied. I had one more question about utility. Doesn't Mario's decent neutral and punish across high tiers outweigh Young Link? I would say no, because I think Young Link's neutral against certain high tiers outweighs the rest. Neutral and kill confirms on floaties is better than decent neutral and okay punish against high tier. Okay, but moving on to F tier. Game & Watch. Oh, did I forget a letter? Oh, because I changed D.5 or E to D.5, that's why. So in E tier, yeah, this is E tier, guys. And please remember, not ordered within tiers. So we got Game & Watch. I mean, Game & Watch's fare is basically better than every remaining character in the roster. And so is his Nair and his down tilt. His recovery is pretty good. And down throw Nair just kills a lot of characters. But his defense is pretty bad. He dies super early. That's pretty much it. It's just like enough, you know? He even has okay matchups against some of these characters. Like, I think he's okay against DK, he's okay against Gan. Shield, yeah, Shield is obviously garbage. And the thing is, with some characters who have bad shields, you can compensate with light shield. But with Game & Watch, to make it useful, your light shield has to expand far enough that you actually can't do anything out of it. It's like, all right, maybe you get a reset at best. Yeah, terrible techs, terrible rolls, terrible spot dodge. Got a lot of big L's. Can't L cancel. Not that many L's. All right, next character. Obviously, big weaknesses from Mewtwo. Hurtbox sucks. Super light, so he dies easily. But but he's actually kind of okay against certain floaties, especially on Dreamland where he can teleport. Teleport actually makes it pretty difficult to catch him. His punish on Spacies is actually okay. His edge guards on Spacies is actually okay. His edge guards on other characters can be okay. Recovery is really good. He has 2 kill throws. Kill throws are pretty rare. The Peach and Mewtwo might be the only characters with. I guess Roy's up throw. I think Mewtwo's punish game is pretty decent. His down tilt is good. His Nair is good. Yeah, Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball's aight. I wish his side B and down B were good. Why he's one of the reasons he's so fun in PM is because they fixed all that stuff. Yeah, like up tilt, up air, got double jump cancel. You can double jump cancel Nair out of shield, which is actually pretty funny. So those things are all good. But he dies really early, his hitbox sucks. Now, you know, I think you could put Roy here. I think you can do that. And I think you can do that because he basically emulates about 60%, maybe 50% of Marth's neutral. Which means he actually just wins neutral against a lot of characters. The big element that he misses from Marth's neutral is Nair and Fair. And down tilt's poke. Originally, I actually had put Roy in the tier below, but I think the fact that he actually has the best dash dance of any of these characters, besides like the top tier, is big for him. And he's pretty strong off grab against a lot of characters. Flare Blade is actually a decent edge guard tool. It's better than Shield Breaker uncharged. Down tilt is really good. His F tilt is pretty okay. F smash kills hella early. Up throw kills, and especially against floaties, like 180 or lower. But that rounds out E tier. Game & Watch, Mewtwo, and Roy. Which only leaves us with a few characters left. Alright, it gets tricky here. So I'm putting Ness here. I saw someone say that Ness is better than Roy. Don't think that's true. I do think Ness is pretty bad. I think his Fair is good. That's really it. Right, Fair is good. He's got decent, like a decent wave dash. His down tilt has some use. Fair, up air, Nair, all pretty okay. Recovery's pretty trash. Really, it's the disjoint on the Fair that doesn't. Yeah, the double jump cancels are nice. Oh, back air. Yeah, back air is actually pretty good. He's got some stuff, you know. In terms of what that stuff does for him against a lot of the relevant characters, it's not much compared to Game & Watch, Roy, and Mewtwo. Which is why I put him in the tier below. I would also put Zelda in this tier. Fair and back air. Her neutral B, surprisingly okay move. I've edge guarded with it before. He's got up B ledge stall with the hitbox. Dash attack is like crappy Peach dash attack. Down smash really fast. Up smash can be tricky to deal with, but she has 0 movement whatsoever. So if you just stand outside her dash attack range, she actually can't touch you. Pichu. Pichu's fast, good movement, good projectile, good nair. He can edge guard, he can recover, but he can't do anything about crouch cancels. If you just hold down, he can't do anything to you. And he dies off anything. Now, I'm not certain where I want to put Kirby. Here's what I think I want to do. I think this is what I want to do. I think Kirby is just worse than Ness, Zelda, and Pichu. Like I don't know that Kirby has anything redeeming better than what they do. And I think Kirby is just better than Bowser. But you know what, in terms of utility, you know what, I'm actually gonna put them in the same. Change my mind. You know, I actually have played Captain Pretzel. And I've played Warrior. You guys doubting my credentials? Come on. I love playing character specialist. Played Rian Zelda. Played everyone. I play all these characters too, don't doubt. If we're talking about utility, like Bowser can do some stuff on Yoshi's, his fair is okay, his up B out of shield's okay. And someone asked about what Pikachu does that Pichu doesn't. Pikachu is not hurt for every time he does Thunder Jolt. And more importantly, Pikachu has more range on his down tilt. Down tilt is a common thing that Pikachu uses against crouch cancel. And I think Pikachu's faster on the ground, so grab is more threatening. So just to recap, none of these are ordered within tiers. We're talking about utility, what a character brings to the table. We described the top 6 as like a really nice utility knife, does everything you need in the wilderness. Each is like, you know, really good rope. Easier fire starters. These guys, you know, maybe like a compass for specific needs. These guys are crappy knives. This is like a wilderness survival guide someone gave you, but it's water damaged and stuff, so maybe read a few out of it. Guys are I don't know, you bought one of those like water purifying straws, but it broke anymore. And these guys are like you brought a phone charger, but it's not only do you not have any outlets in the wilderness, but it's also like micro USB and you needed a USB-C charger. And that's the tier list. Thanks for watching.